How do trolls compare with each other going into Tides of Torment? I was fishing for ideas, and this was raised by channel commenters. Having come this far with covering so many factions, it's not a bad thing to look at all the kinds of trolls you can potentially get under one banner, because that banner will be Throgg's. If he can troll the world, just what kind of trolls are we talking about? Let's try and examine them fairly. Let's start with basic trolls from the green skins and work our way up. Adjectiveless original trolls are recruited for 800 gold and 200 upkeep. On Ultra they come at 16 entities with 7,900 and 4 health between them for 494 each. Armor is 40 per entity, leadership 45, which while low is not skeleton warriors low, but they're not allowed to run away either. Speed 54 and charge speed 78 means that if allowed to get in front of the orcs, they're first in and first out. Melee attack 34 is a bit higher than my eternal champion of stalwart mediocrity, the Empire Swordsman, which has melee attack and defense 32 by default. Attack interval of 3.8 is slightly faster than usual, but lumbering animations balance that out the other way. Splash target size is medium, meaning Empire Knights on down, and max targets damage by splash of 4 is on the high side for this kind of monstrous unit. Ogres are almost all 3. Melee defense 32 is exactly that of our swordsman comparison. That's not bad compared to a lot of monstrous infantry. Weapon strength 100 is split base 30 and armor piercing 70, so they tend to ignore armor, but do remember that their large splash means this damage can get diluted a fair bit for better or worse. That means finishing off weakened targets, but also maiming, not killing in the initial blows. Charge bonus is 24 and mass is 1500, which means they push through friendly infantry really well, among other things. Considered a siege attacker for 0-turn wait sieges. They can hide in forest, cause fear, and have the regeneration trait for 0.1% of max health healing per second, whether in combat or out of it, less when literally on fire. Speaking of fire, they have 20% fire weakness because of this trait. This is our baseline, this is our floor, this is our standard for all comparisons to come. The quickest comparison is going to be with Chaos Trolls for an extremely simple reason. They look a little different, but the stats are 100% the same. The second quickest will be Armored Chaos Trolls, because they're 99% the same. The difference is that armor is 110 or 70 better than normal, for no loss of speed, melee attack, or melee defense. That's pretty good actually, let's keep that in mind and move on. River Trolls are gathered from the swamps for 900 gold and 235 upkeep. Their stats are completely identical until we get to melee defense of 40 or 8 better, weapon strength 105, split base 35, and armor piercing 70, charge bonus of 30. These are somewhat better. Mass 1500 is unchanged. River Trolls are considered aquatic and will fight better in shallow water than elsewhere. Their extra trait is Overwhelming Odor, which creates a 35-meter hex within which enemies have -6 melee attack. Like the other trolls, they retain regeneration and its fire weakness. We must consider that hex important in terms of mixing trolls with each other. Stone Trolls are the heavy hitter, greenskins version. Raised for 1,100 gold and 275 upkeep, and while health remains the same, a lot else has changed. Armor improves to 70, they have missile resistance 25% and spell resistance 25%. Melee attack 36 is slightly up, but attack interval slows to 4 seconds, no worse than average though. The big standout is that weapon strength has improved to 120, base 40 and AP 80 being the split. Charge bonus of 34 is 10 better than the norm, and mass is 1500 again. While there's no other differences from the normal trolls, in practice, these trolls are more difficult to defeat using cheap methods, and therefore tend to break slower, even though their leadership technically remains 45. So-called Norscan trolls will tie Chaos Trolls because they are stat-wise exactly the same as normal trolls. Norscan Ice Trolls are a very different matter. Recruited for 950 gold and 238 upkeep, these share the number of entities and total health, but armor is 60 or 20 better than the start. The unit actually has fire weakness 25% baked in. Melee attack is 38, a bit better, and inflicts frostbite with each blow, which reduces enemy speed by 30%. This has advantages in combo play. Attack interval 4 is ever so slightly slower, like stone trolls. In fact, they come off much like stone trolls, with no change to defense, weapon strength 120 being base 40 and armor piercing 80, charge bonus 34, and mass 1500. Since, like the others, they have regeneration, that's a net 45% fire weakness, so that's a big drawback to them. But they hit hard and slow stuff down for others. That's a big deal in the Norscan roster generally. Bile Trolls are relatively new. Recruited for 1050 gold and 250 upkeep, CA obviously tweaking the cost. Health is 8,672 spread around the same 16 entities, so that's up. Armor is 60, leadership is 50 or 5 better. Speed is all the same. Melee attack begins at 29 or 5 worse, but instead of poison, these units now inflict stomach acid, which does minus 8 to leadership and minus 15% to speed, as long as they're different sources, or at least for sure if they're different sources. Sources of reduced speed are cumulative, so frostbite plus stomach acid will be minus 45% speed. Melee defense 45 is 13 better than the norm, weapon strength 115 is split base 45 and armor piercing 70, so they don't ignore armor any better than the originals, they do maul zombies and flagellants a lot better. They are also considered aquatic apparently. Also, they have the corrosive bile passive hex, so within 35 meters, they inflict minus 6 melee defense on the opponent. This more than makes up for the loss of melee attack versus the original, by 1 point. And now you see the point of my doing this video. Not only will frostbite and stomach acid overlap against the same targets, but overwhelming odor and corrosive bile will overlap if enemies are within 35 meters of river trolls and bile trolls at the same time. And where can this happen after Tides of Torment? In Throgg's army. I'm expecting changes to Norska's skill lines, but if it was right now prior to 7.0, Frostbitten would give any Norscan troll unit at 3 pips, melee attack plus 6, and weapon strength plus 12%. We should assume a similar result afterwards, and Throgg already can slap on some pretty ridiculous power for trolls in his own army, so we can expect this to continue. Thus, what we see will get even better somehow, some way. Now, as footage continues to play of trolls in their original unbuffed states, let's go over how we can use trolls in Total War Warhammer generally. The simplest and safest way to use trolls is layered over friendly infantry to create a mixed mosh pit. Why? Because some of the damage will be absorbed by the little uns, and a lot of the splash damage dished out will complement the zero splash single entity damage from the infantry. Both will finish off the other's wounded opponents, and by keeping damage into the trolls at a controllable level, the trolls will heal it as they fight, and are thus less likely to get morale shocked and run for the hills. Having any lord or hero nearby will help, and some will help a lot more. The reason this is safest is because flanking is very dangerous. Unsupported by other units, a flanking unit of trolls getting shot is, for one thing, getting shot, which saps morale, getting damaged, which saps morale, and with few friends around, which saps morale. And they do not have much leadership to work with, so you will often see trolls fleeing long before they lose many entities. This can be very bad for the enemy depending on the situation too. A troll unit that has fled and has time to heal up can attack much more engaged opponents and make a real pest of itself. The secret to trolls is that if they stay in the fight, they're not just decent combatants, they're a major source of armor-piercing damage. If you have other bases covered, trolls can and will win fights for you. They are better than they used to be way back. It really doesn't take much to make them a lot more reliable, but of course, this is in melee. They're useless in a standoff position. Think of trolls as the payload in payload missions in Overwatch. Your mission is to get them into a fight. If that fight becomes bashing through missile units, too slow to get away, so be it. They have the speed for it. Often it means favoring having them hit flanks and backs of the front line in preference to that, because even if it means a few shots in the back, their charges into engaged infantry will do horrendous damage, both physically and in terms of morale. This is a fine line to walk, but the bigger the brawl, the better, unless they reach a point where it's so crowded they can no longer do their attack animations properly. It can happen. Short of that, yes, you want them in melee basically no matter what. So whatever you have to do to make that happen, do it. And then watch the magic unfold. Since you can expect this high-risk, high-reward style to produce lots of enemies fleeing from battle, 1, that's where ice trolls become really worth it. 2, you want sources of speed to work with. I've heard it's taken basically this long for Northscout to have actual access to warhounds in campaign. What a crippling thing. Anyway, use what speed you have to exploit and destroy fleeing opponents. Trolls are there to break the lines and are only okay at pursuit. Other units are better, like hounds. I haven't mentioned magic much because there's not a whole lot of spells that they need to especially fear above others. They exist. Fata Buna is epic, but that's on just one unit. There will be times when the cruel tactic of leveling a flame storm on top of a nice troll unit engaged with 6 infantry is the better option to honor the dark gods. Hopefully you can find a somewhat better mixture to work with, but you do what you have to do. Even before Tides of Torment, just Throgg being able to give melee defense plus 8 to all trolls and slap Frenzy on them for melee attack plus 10 and plus 10% weapon strength and charge bonus, unless their leadership is breaking anyway, turns them into Kroxigors under Nakai level menaces. Whatever they get more than that, combined with the tactics you can use to combine the debuffs, is going to create an epic troll wrecking ball, and to some degree outside Throgg's personal army too. Take care and have fun trolling the world, because that's where the fun is at.